Hello, I'm Philip J. Bradbury, a writer, and I've just completed my 23rd book, which is a novel, a thriller romance based in Ipswich in Queensland, where I used to live. And people are now telling me that I should produce a video or videos to promote the book, which will be available very soon once the editors have done their thing. However, writing is not a spectator sport. If I was to sit here writing away, it's not very exciting, is it? Writing away. So I'm having to come up with some imaginative ideas, let's say, about what writers do, or what this writer does, and leading on to the book. So here are some ideas. While I'm sitting here, I'll tell you a little bit about the book that I've just finished writing, which is now off to beta readers, and then it will be to editors, and then it will be there's another word, ARC readers, and then it will be published. And so, of course, we've got to do all the other stuff as well, the book covers and the publishing and that. It came about by some weird way that I could never have imagined. It wasn't my design, if you like, the plan of this book. So it's the second in a trilogy. I don't know if it was ever meant to be in my brain, but it must have been meant to be in someone else's big brain. I call it source. God, whatever. So I was living in Ipswich about 7 years ago, and I would been doing some hard work on our property, concreting I think it was, putting in new paths. Came inside from the hot Queensland sun, have a cup of tea, and I was sitting there and my body was sweating. And my legs were sweating. And I looked down and I've got a couple of scars from my previous days as a motorcycle racer. And I noticed one of the scars wasn't sweating. Everything else was, but the scars weren't sweating. And it suddenly occurred to me, that's a brilliant idea for a book. Scars Don't Sweat. And so there was the title, and so I started writing that book, having the idea that this was going to be the first in a trilogy. So I started writing that. I got to about 40,000 words, which is about half to a third of a normal novel. And then another one took over, and I started writing that one. And I did end up finishing that one. Became 115,000 words. And that was called, and is called, Scars Can't Tell. So the one that was supposed to be first is now relegated to second. And Scars Can't Tell was kind of based around when I lived in Alice Springs, and I discovered that there were children being stolen, particularly Aboriginal children, and transferred out of state. And then I ended up living in Ipswich, and I discovered that one of the destinations of those children is Ipswich, where they then get sent on overseas. So this Scars Can't Tell traces the journey, everyone's on a journey, aren't they, of a young Aboriginal girl and two other people, and they end up in Gatton, which is just near Ipswich. So that's this one here. This is the one that was going to be second is now first. And then I'd started a third book based solely in Ipswich around the time of 1983, which was when Bjelke-Petersen was in power in Queensland, and there was a lot of corruption and stuff going on. And so that one is based around abuse, both institutional and domestic. And it's a pretty exciting book, but there's a love story going on. And it includes ideas for women and children, or girls particularly, to help keep themselves safe. Because people may not read a textbook or a non-fiction about how to keep yourself safe. So I've embedded that into a novel, which is another way of presenting the information to people. So for parents to help their children, and that's kind of a big part of it, to give them ideas, to keep ourselves safe in this silly old world. So, Scars Can't Tell was supposed to be first. It then got relegated to second. It's now relegated to third because Scars Can't Tell is the first one. Scars Can't Sweat is the third. Yeah, it was going to be the first. It's now going to be the third because Scars Could Love is now the second, which is the one that's in process with editors and so on. And so it's rather a twisted journey. And it's kind of how, let's say, creativity goes, because we never know as a writer. Well, I don't. I'm a well, I won't go into that. It's another story. But we let's just say life never goes on the straight line that we think it should. Life has its own track. And so that's how this book's gone. So I've just finished writing it, and I'll stop now, and we'll talk about other things in another short video.